The first pieces of trim on the wall of windows is complete. So that is the section here. I first added some shim or spacer blocks here, and then the pieces on the inside, which would be sort of like the window jamb, because these windows were salvage windows. They didn't actually come with a window jamb, so this sort of recreates that piece. And now I'll fill in other pieces and start with some of the siding. I wanted to stop and point out one of the pieces here that is going along the midpoint of the wall and in between the windows over here. This is actually a band of maple, and I'm inserting it within the pieces of cedar tongue and groove. And the reason is we are thinking about having a loft net installed up at the very top here, just between the walls to the left and right and along this maple piece between the windows, just so the kids have an extra place to climb and hang out. And I didn't want to risk having the cedar, which is not very strong, used to support that, so I'm using the maple board there. And it also has an additional benefit where some of the tongue and groove pieces are ripped in half, and that means if we have pieces where the top and bottom are beat up, we can still use them. And because a lot of this material is more of a character quality, we definitely have pieces like that, so it's a nice way to use some of it. We are making progress on the cedar tongue and groove for the interior. I would say we are about 3/4 done, and before I can finish, I have to go buy some more wood, but it's coming along nicely. One of the realities of dealing with the wood we have, which is In some cases, a character grade wood, it has a fair number of knots and splits and imperfections, is that it took some extra planning to figure out what pieces I should use and what pieces I should cut off, and just thinking through how to try and utilize as much as we could. So that's been a theme for most of this build. And now that we're starting to get into the home stretch, I had a fairly large pile of scrap that I had cut off that I did not want to use, and I thought it might be fitting to try and repurpose some of that. So we are actually going to use some of that wood in I guess I would call it a mosaic of imperfect wood. So that's going to be one of our projects. The family's up this weekend, so I am cutting lots of pieces, and my kids and my wife are going to be assembling them into hopefully an interesting pattern, and that will become a piece of artwork for the wall of the inside. Here's our almost finished interesting character wood art. Before we hang it up, I will add a frame that'll go around. The black background will still be visible, but it will look like a little bit more of a hanging picture, and we will get this up inside the treehouse. Looks really nice. After picking up another load of cedar tongue and groove, we were back at the treehouse and ready to get started finishing the remaining walls of the interior. This is what it looks like when it's time to clear all of the wood scraps, extra pieces of trim, tools, and other supplies out of the treehouse and start finding a new home. I'm sure I might find a few pieces here and there that I've forgotten, but I think this piece of baseboard is the last piece of the interior that needs cut and nailed. With the carpentry work generally done, it was time to transition to some finish work that included applying a sealant and finish to the hardwood floor, and it also included applying putty or wood filler into the nail holes for some of the visible trim nails. I started to do sanding and final finish on some of the sections. I did not get done on this particular trip, so there'll be a little extra work left to finish in a future trip, but we are all very excited that the end is near and it will be time to take a minute to enjoy what we've built. Thank you everyone who's been watching. I hope you've enjoyed this series. The next video will be the big reveal of the finished DIY treehouse. If you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe.